When we think of the word feral children, images of myth and legend often come to mind, like Tarzan, the boy raised by apes. He is happy living in isolation with animals. But then there are the real-life feral kids that populate history. In many cases, they raise questions that experts can't answer, like how did they end up living with wolves? How did they survive? And most importantly, how could any parent abandon or even lose their child to the great outdoors? In this amazing video, we're going to show you the 15 children who have been raised by animals. Number 15, the boy raised by grizzly bears. The life of one boy took an unusual turn when he was carried off by grizzly bears shortly after birth. Under the guardianship of a mother bear, he learned essential survival skills, like washing in streams, climbing trees, and catching fish. The bear fiercely shielded him from predators, particularly wolves, raising him as one of her own. Communication was limited to growls and guttural sounds, the language of the bears, but touchy. Unlike his companions' loud feasting, he often ate quietly, even experimenting with crude utensils. As he matured, he sensed his difference and grew restless. Eventually, he decided to leave the only family he had known. He bid farewell to the bears and walked away, determined to forge a human life. Beyond that point, his fate remains unknown. His story endures as a reminder of how resilience and animal instinct can intertwine in the most unlikely circumstances, shaping a childhood unlike any other. Number 14, Amala and Kamala. One of history's most sensational and heartbreaking feral cases centers on two Indian girls, Amala and Kamala, reportedly raised by a she-wolf in 1920. Reverend Joseph Singh discovered them in Midnapore, living among wolf cubs, and brought them to his orphanage. Their bodies showed the imprint of wildlife: tangled hair, calloused knees and palms, crouched posture, and tongues protruding between thick lips. They avoided human contact, howled at night, prowled in darkness, and lapped liquids with their tongues. They devoured raw meat and resisted cooked food. Singh and his wife worked tirelessly to civilize them, with little success. Yet Kamala slowly formed trust through careful tenderness, softening skin, balanced nutrition, and consistent care. Over 5 years, she made limited progress, learning rudimentary habits, but never fully losing her wolf-like behavior. Their story, half legend, half recorded history, remains a haunting example of the human mind shaped entirely by wilderness rather than sophisticated society. Number 13, the Cambodian jungle girl. After nearly 10 years with the wrong family, a woman believed to be a feral child from the Cambodian jungle was finally reunited with her real father. Found in 2007 wandering the forest, covered in mud, she was assumed to be Rochom Pingyeng, who had vanished in 1989 at age 8 while tending buffalo. Nicknamed the Jungle Girl, she was thought to have survived 18 years in the wilderness. Later, her true identity surfaced when a 70-year-old Vietnamese man, Pio, recognized her through photos online. She was actually his daughter, Tak, who had disappeared in 2006, only a year before she was found. Her entry into the jungle began when a farmer caught her stealing food. Struggling to adjust, she displayed signs of mental illness, refused clothing, and repeatedly expressed a desire to return to the wild. Her story revealed a tragic misidentification and a haunting struggle between civilization and the forest. Number 12, Sujit Kumar. Sujit Kumar from Fiji became known as the boy raised as a chicken, which made him globally famous. Despite adulthood, caregivers still call him the boy. He never learned speech and only recently began grasping elementary human behaviors. Sujit exhibited chicken-like behaviors, squatting as if brooding, pecking food, and making rapid clicking sounds with his tongue. His fingers curved inward from years of scratching in dirt. Authorities discovered him tied to a bed in a nursing home where he had been bound for decades. His journey to the Samabula Old People's Home in Suva began when welfare officers intervened. Elizabeth Clayton, who investigated, revealed his tragic history. His grandfather confined him in a chicken coop at 6, subjecting him to isolation and neglect. Later abandoned, Sujit survived in institutions until his rescue. Today, under care or don't know where, he is slowly relearning basic skills. His story shows profound cruelty and resilience, a child molded by confinement rather than wilderness. Number 11. Dina Sanichar. In the 19th century, a boy named Dina, often compared to Mowgli from fiction, was raised by wolves in the Indian wilderness. He spent his childhood believing he belonged to the pack. In February 1867, hunters discovered him in a cave in Uttar Pradesh and gave him to the Sandra Mission Orphanage. Missionaries attempted to teach him human customs like speaking and walking upright. Yet the divide between his animal instincts and human society proved too wide. Unlike the polished Disney tale, Dina's reality was harsher. At the orphanage, he remained more wolf than boy, moving on all fours, struggling to stand, and eating only raw meat and bones. He earned the nickname Wolf Boy and never managed to adapt fully. Speech eluded him, as did social behavior, despite continued attempts. Dina lived out his years in the orphanage, passing away around 1895 at approximately 35 years old, remembered as a true child of the wild. Number 10. Marina Chapman. Marina Chapman recounts an astonishing childhood spent among monkeys in the Colombian jungle. Abandoned at a young age, she survived by observing primates, foraging berries and roots, scavenging discarded bananas, and sheltering in hollow trees. She moved on all fours, climbing trees and mimicking the troop around her. Years later, hunters captured her, ending her jungle life. Deprived of language, she struggled to communicate with humans. Marina's ordeal did not end there. She was reportedly trafficked into a brothel in Cucuta, lived as a street child, and later suffered under a criminal family. Salvation came through the help of a neighbor who arranged her relocation to Bradford, England. Reflecting on her jungle years, Marina described the deep bonds she formed with the young monkeys, learning survival and discipline through their behavior. Her story remains one of the most extraordinary accounts of human adaptation, blending hardship, survival, and resilience across both super-wild and urban worlds. Number 9. Victor, the Wild Boy of Aveyron. In 1799, villagers in Aveyron, France, discovered a boy living in the forest, later named Victor. Believed to be around 12, he was said to have been raised by wolves. His case captured the interest of physician Jean Itard, who saw him as proof of the tabula rasa theory, that human beings could be shaped entirely by upbringing. Victor showed classic feral traits: no speech, refusal of clothing, rejection of cooked food, and preference for solitude. He ate raw plants and roots, ran on all fours, and resisted human touch. Itard brought him to Paris, determined to civilize him. Progress was slow, but under careful guidance and the support of a devoted housekeeper, Victor learned basic gestures and limited communication. Though he never acquired full speech, his case became foundational in the study of language and human development. Victor's life remains one of history's most studied examples of a feral child. Number 8. Marcos Rodriguez. Between ages 7 and 19, Marcos Rodriguez lived alone in the Sierra Morena mountains of southern Spain, far away from humanity. Abandoned in 1953, he survived by forming bonds with wolves, who became his family. Without human contact, his language faded, replaced by barks, howls, and screams. 12 years later, police captured him, finding him in deerskins with matted hair, hiding in the mountains. Bound and taken to a nearby village, he struggled against arrest. Eventually, a priest arranged for his transfer to a monastery hospital in Madrid, where nuns attempted to educate him. For decades, Marcos battled to adapt. He drifted between monasteries, hostels, and jobs in construction, bars, and hotels. His naivety left him vulnerable to exploitation, often robbed or abused. Despite rare kindnesses, he remained marginalized, forever caught between wilderness and society. Today, his story reflects both resilience and tragedy, a child molded by wolves yet scarred by human neglect. Number 7. The Leopard Boy of India. Now this story is chilling. Back in 1912, a 2-year-old boy from India was taken by a deadly leopardess. 3 years later, a hunter killed the animal and found 3 cubs, one of which was the child, now 5. He was returned to his family in a small Indian village and displayed remarkable traits. He moved on all fours with agility, his toes arched upward, and his hands and feet hardened by exposure. He was feral, lashing out at anyone who approached, living on raw chickens, and growling instead of speaking. Despite his bizarre condition, his speed on all fours equaled that of an upright runner. Over time, he adapted to human life, learning to speak and walk. Tragically, he began losing his vision due to a hereditary disorder that also affected others in his family. His case remains one of the most extraordinary accounts of a child molded by wild instincts before being drawn back into human society. What do you think about this boy's story? Number 6. Marie-Angélique Mémé Leblanc. In 1731, villagers in southern France spotted a wild girl dressed in animal skins, stealing apples from orchards. Estimated between 10 and 18 years old, she displayed feral strength, like killing a bulldog with her bare hands before retreating into the forest. Eventually, she was captured and then was taken to Chalon Hospital and baptized as Marie-Angélique Mémé Leblanc. She spoke no language, communicating only through grunts and animal sounds. Her diet was raw meat, as cooked food made her teeth fall out. Years later, her origins were revealed. She was a Native American girl from Wisconsin, enslaved and shipped to France as a child. After a shipwreck, she survived with another girl in the wilderness, feeding on raw animals and adapting like a wild creature. Her resilience amazed contemporaries. Over time, she learned French, adapted slowly, and even published memoirs. Her transformation from feral survival to literacy made her one of history's most remarkable feral children. She was, after all, a human. Number 5. Jeannie, the Feral Girl of L.A. In October 1970, a frail girl entered a Los Angeles welfare office, her posture bent, hands raised oddly like rabbit paws. Though believed to be 6, she was actually 13. Later named Jeannie to protect her identity, she bore the devastating effects of lifelong abuse. Her father, mentally unstable, had confined her from birth in a makeshift straitjacket, isolating her in a silent room. He forbade speech, punished any sound, and treated her worse than an animal. When discovered, Jeannie was incontinent, drooled constantly, and could not speak. She displayed an unusual condition, 2 nearly complete sets of teeth, known as supernumeraries. After her rescue, she was taken to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, where doctors documented her case as one of the most severe deprivations of language and socialization ever recorded. Despite rehabilitation attempts, her childhood trauma left permanent scars. Jeannie's life became a chilling reminder of the profound damage caused by extreme neglect and isolation. Now let's move to Number 4. Peter the Wild Boy of Germany. In 1725, a naked boy was found wandering in the German forest near Hanover. Around 11 years old, he became known as Peter the Wild Boy. Taken to London at age 12, he was presented at the court of King George I as a curiosity. At court, he displayed animal-like behaviors, running on all fours, climbing, stealing food, and showing little comprehension of language. Though a novelty, his wild manners soon became too much, and he was sent to a farm in Hertfordshire. There, farmers cared for him until his death in 1785. Peter wore a brass collar inscribed, "Peter the Wild Boy of Hanover," identifying him in case he wandered. Later analysis of his portrait suggests he may have had Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, a rare genetic disorder causing distinct features and intellectual disability. His case became one of the earliest recorded examples of a feral child in European history. Number 3. Oksana Malaya. Born in 1983 in Novoblagoveshchensk, Ukraine, Oksana Malaya endured abandonment at age 3 by alcoholic parents. Seeking warmth and protection, she crawled into a kennel where stray dogs lived. For 5 years, the dogs became her only companions. She adopted their behavior, barking, growling, panting, and moving on all fours. She licked herself clean, scavenged trash for food, ate raw meat, and slept curled beside the pack. When discovered, she resembled an animal more than a child. Anna Shalaya, director of the Special Care Institution where she was later placed, recalled that Oksana behaved more like a little dog than a human girl. Attempts to reintegrate her into society faced immense challenges. Though she eventually learned basic speech and habits, the imprint of her feral childhood never fully faded. Her case remains one of the starkest examples of how early neglect can strip a child of human identity, replacing it with survival instincts of animals. So, what do you think about her story? Number 2. John Sabunya. John Sabunya was only 2 or 3 when his life collapsed. After witnessing his father murder his mother, he fled into the Ugandan jungle, where he was adopted by vervet monkeys. For nearly a year, they protected and fed him, sharing carrots, nuts, cassava, and sweet potatoes. Gradually, John mimicked their movements, foraging and climbing with skill. His knees whitened from crawling, and his body became coated with hair, a feature often observed in feral children. Villagers eventually spotted him among the monkeys and brought him back. He resisted at first, fiercely attached to his troop. With time, he adjusted, but the imprint of his wild upbringing never left. His story emerged against the backdrop of Uganda's civil war, when the jungle was dangerous even for adults. John's survival and later reintegration reveal a child's ability to endure trauma, transform pain into survival, and find family even in the most unlikely companions. Number 1. Ivan Mishakov. In the 1990s, a young boy named Ivan Mishakov lived on the streets of Moscow after being abandoned by his alcoholic grandfather. At only 4 years old, he found companionship and protection among stray dogs. He earned their trust by sharing food, and soon they accepted him into the pack. Over 2 years, he grew inseparable from them, giving the dogs names like Jessie, Masha, Goa, and Siva. Ivan begged for scraps alongside his canine companions and learned their habits, barking, growling, and moving like one of them. Authorities struggled to separate him from the pack, as the dogs fiercely defended him. Eventually, officials captured Ivan by luring the dogs away with bait. At the time, he was only 6. While Ivan was rescued, his loyal animals were tragically euthanized by local officials. His story remains one of the most heartbreaking examples of how deep bonds between abandoned children and animals can form in desperate times. Well, that's it for today. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you very soon.